Welcome back to another episode of Fun or Run. This is the review show where we take a quick look at a game and let you know whether or not it is fun, or if you should run. The game in question today is Coffee Crisis. So hey everybody, this is Chad the Gaming Dad back again with more Fun or Run. And first things first, I gotta thank Screenwave and Mega Cat Studios for the review code. So Coffee Crisis originally was one of these, what I like to call, new retro games. They actually made it on a cartridge for the Sega Genesis in 2017. Complete with a Kickstarter and all of that. The company that made this, Mega Cat Studios, is from Pittsburgh, and that will become more apparent as we go through this review. And it's also now on Steam and on Switch, $9.99. The low price of $9.99. So let's take a look. On Steam, the description of the game, it says, "Save the metal, save the world, save the coffee." Coffee Crisis is a neo-rogue brawler that puts you in the shoes of the only baristas on Earth with enough heavy metal in their veins to fend off an alien assault. Play solo or join up with a friend to fight across 8 unique locations ranging from your coffee house headquarters to the far reaches of outer space. And they go on to some more things. It says that the Smurglian race has come to Earth, and they're not leaving until they steal our 3 most prized commodities: heavy metal, free Wi-Fi, and coffee. So it's like you're in a coffee house, baristas, and all that. It does say also that there are random modifiers to the enemies and the action on each playthrough. They say it's a unique cup of beat-em-up action every time you play. So yeah. The game started off with these guys in Pittsburgh. They even have a metal band from Pittsburgh, Grey Walker, were the ones that provided the music for it. Lots of heavy metal music in here. The game features lots of places in and around Pittsburgh. So the first thing you'll notice, even just looking at the gameplay here, is that it's very reminiscent of some actual retro games, kind of like Streets of Rage. Here's a look at some Streets of Rage. All 3 of them are included on the Sega Genesis collection on the Switch, as well as a whole bunch of other Genesis games. If you like retro and you like Genesis, it's bound to be something in here you like. So just like Streets of Rage, we go back to Coffee Crisis. It's a brawler where you're going from left to right, Double Dragon style, all these old retro games, pretty much just like this. So the story in this game, Coffee Crisis, is kind of crazy with the aliens coming down and trying to steal your coffee and all that. And then remember I said that Mega Cat Studios is from Pittsburgh. There are tons of locations in here, but also in the text and in the names of people, you'll see some of what is known as Pittsburghese. It's the kind of thing you might hear if you're watching an episode of Pittsburgh Dad on YouTube. Now, I live in Ohio, but I'm not far from Pittsburgh, and I have family that's from Pittsburgh, so I'm pretty well versed in the lingo. But you look here, the guy that they call the Yinzer, and how he calls the characters Jagoffs. I mean, heck, even the ballpark that you fight in is called BNC Park. Real life PNC Park, like the bank. If you need a quick reference, I found this picture on the internet of quick reference for Pittsburghese. There you go, there's some really great ones in there. Like red up. My grandma used to tell me to red up my room all the time, and I always asked her, what color is it now? And I don't want it to be red, but I guess that just means clean up. Lots of Pittsburghese you'll see in this game. There's even some cool references in here to some YouTubers that we all might know and might have watched, like Alpha Omega Sin and Metal Jesus Rocks. The graphics, everything in here, it really looks a lot like an old retro game. The graphics, the sound, everything about it, it's all really cool. So far we're just kind of looking at parts of the game, the look, the strange story, the setting, all that stuff. It's all pretty good. So far so good, right? Well, let's not get too hasty. And using my best Pittsburghese, I would like to say, yins quiet Dan, sit on the couch, and see if the gameplay is lazy in that. So looking at the gameplay, keep an eye on the screen. There's a lot going on here. Up here's your health, here's the lives. Those are the two main important things. There's also some score and some multipliers going on, but you really need to see the lives and your health. You basically have a jump and an attack button, as well as a super. There's also a grab button, but I didn't make much use of that other than to pick up weapons. But don't get too comfy with using the super. It's kind of like another retro game, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Here's Turtles in Time on the Super Nintendo. This is a classic that everyone seems to love. But again, if you use the super in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it drains a little bit of your health. Take a look, see that? Lose your health when you use the super. You cannot spam the super against the enemies or else you're dead. Shell-shocked!
Oh, shell-shocked.
In Coffee Crisis, it works this way too. You use the super too much and that's it, you're dead. There's no amount of coffee that's going to bring you back. Luckily, there's a lot of random modifiers and power-ups along the way. These coffee pots, they fill up your health. There's little donuts, beans, things like that. There's even invincibility. Now, when you're invincible, spam that special because it's not going to affect your health. That's what I do. Or maybe if you see a coffee pot that pops up, hit a few specials and drain some of your health, and then go grab the coffee pot, which refills you. So there's a little bit of a strategy, really light use of the word strategy, but there's a little bit of it in here. Again, that doesn't sound too bad, but here we go. The enemies themselves, even though they kind of look cool, and there's a few different ones, like fighting a bunch of old guys and grannies, either in wheelchairs or with walkers, and aliens, it's still pretty random, except for when you come up against these segments that are called Finish Them segments. Seems like those are pre-programmed to happen a certain way. And then while you're doing all of this brawling, the random modifiers come in. There's things like CRT mode, other screen filter type of mods. The one looks like heat waves, or kind of a bug eye effect. You can get damage multipliers. All kinds of different stuff pops up. That's actually procedurally generated, random stuff. Problem with that is that things seem to happen so fast, you don't really know what's going on. If you watch some of the old retro games, there will be a bunch of guys on the screen, but they never mob you to the point where you can't fight back. And if they do, it's probably not a retro game that everybody loved. Take a look again at Streets of Rage real quick. When there's a few different guys on the screen, it's not like they just take turns coming after you, but they kinda do. Gives you a chance anyway. You're using your own attacks and different things that you can do to fight back. They don't just mob you to the point where you can't even see your character anymore. In Coffee Crisis, they do this. You'll get mobbed by so many guys you don't even know where your character is. You're getting hit like crazy, you use the special a couple times and bingo, you're dead. You'll wind up just mashing buttons randomly and probably losing a life, or two, or three, and then it's game over. When you do lose a life and you come back, you do have a little bit of invincibility when the new life starts, so I suggest spamming the special until you notice that it starts to affect your health bar again, because you got to get out of that mess of enemies. Pretty much just wind up swinging your sack of beans around sort of aimlessly. You can use a jump kick. Get used to that, get good at that, because that's one of the only things that's going to help really take down large numbers of enemies. That helps a bit. Then there are some special stages that come in where you got to chug coffee and other things. But going back to these levels, it seems like some of them are pretty long, and they seem to repeat a lot. The enemies themselves are pretty random, and they repeat a lot. The heavy metal music, it's pretty cool, but it repeats a lot. Are you noticing a pattern here? For a game that's only $9.99, it's not really bad for what it is, and you might love it, especially if you're from Pittsburgh. Lots of you know, nostalgic or just at least familiar things that you can see because it's set in that area and the lingo and all that. But as far as the game itself goes, I never really got into much homebrew or these new retro style games. I say if you really like retro games and you want to play some retro style games, there are so many different ways to play the actual retro games now that you'd probably be better off just playing the actual old retro games, either on an old console or on one of these compilations or even the dreaded emulation. I do like what these guys were trying to do. I appreciate the originality of the setting and the characters, the crazy story. It's wacky, but it's original. I really would like to love this game because I see the love and the effort that they put into trying to make this cool. But the actual gameplay part of it's just not hooking me in. So here on Fun or Run, Coffee Crisis, I'm just gonna have to say run. Hey, thanks everybody for sticking with me and watching the entire video. I hope you liked it. The best way to help out the channel is to leave a like, leave a comment, and tell your friends. If you'd like to support the channel further, there are links in the description. But otherwise, always remember that you never outgrow video games. My name's Chad the Gaming Dad, and we'll see you on the next one. So long, everybody.